Joining us now on 40/20/90's On the Record is presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson for the Republican Party. Hutchinson is a former governor of Arkansas, among many other things. Governor, thank you so much for joining us today from Boston, Massachusetts. Let's begin with the changes that we have seen in your campaign. Tell us about those.
Well, I'm delighted that Allison Williams, who's my former chief of staff as governor for 8 years, well known in Arkansas, but she also served at the DEA, Homeland Security, and with me in Congress. So a 20-year history of trust and engagement in the political arena. So I'm delighted that she's come on board as my campaign manager. It's often that you have a shift in the middle of a campaign. So this is a good change for us. Excited to have Allison on board. Beyond that, I'm excited about this next week. I'll be filing for the ballot in Florida. Next week will be Georgia, Arkansas, and I'm on the ballot in New Hampshire, and that's where I'll be this evening on a law enforcement summit talking about the opioid crisis, but also the mental health crisis after the Lewiston, Maine shooting this last week.
So, Governor, filing period in Arkansas does begin and starts this upcoming week. So do you plan on filing in person in Arkansas?
Well, I hope to. We're still working out the details of that. And everyone should know that whenever I say we're going to file in a particular state, that means $25,000 or $50,000. And so this is a very expensive time in a campaign. And but I hope to do that in person, both in Arkansas and maybe some of the other states. It's a good opportunity to showcase, hey, I'm an Arkansas boy. I'm running for president of the United States. Come help our campaign at asa2024.com.
Governor, could you tell us a little bit about your strategy with some of the early states? You have filed in some of the states that you've mentioned. You chose not to file in certain states like South Carolina. So tell us a little bit about that strategy.
Well, you know, I'm taking a long look at this campaign, and this is a test of surviving. There's been 4 candidates, at least, that have already dropped out of the race. And so the longer you can survive, the better chance that you have. And so I look at the future dynamics next year, and obviously New Hampshire and Iowa is important. I'm spending a lot of time in those states, but I want to get to Super Tuesday and the southern states that I think will be a place of strength for me. And so we're working to be on that ballot. But a good example is Florida. Florida is a state that comes later even than Super Tuesday. And so by then, you're going to have a dramatic change, in my judgment, in the politics of the presidential race. You're going to have some that are up now that will be down. Trump will be halfway through his trials. And so I expect dramatic changes, and that's why I want to be on the ballot in Florida. South Carolina comes earlier, and with Nikki Haley and with Tim Scott from South Carolina there, doesn't make much sense to spend $50,000 to be on a ballot when it's a winner-take-all state. And it also, whenever you're looking at the front runner Donald Trump, we need somebody besides Donald Trump to collect all those delegates. And so this is a very strategic move on my part, and we're going to try to make sure that we can be on those later ballots that come later in the primary season, because I think that's when changes will be very dramatic in the campaign.
Governor, this seems to be a time where there are so many shifts in the political climate. We have the war in Israel right now. Is that helping or hurting the race for president as far as the Republican Party is concerned, or are more people paying attention to the presidential race because of this?
Well, it's very interesting that, first of all, people care deeply about what Hamas did, and that we need to destroy the terrorist group. Of course, Israel has the lead in that. But even though that is a focal point of conversation, people are still very, very concerned about the economy. And that's the question that I get asked most about folks that are living paycheck to paycheck and the struggles that they have. And they're very supportive of Israel, but they want the candidates to talk about what we're going to do to solve the border security crisis that we have, the inflation that's out of control and the high interest rates that are hurting our pocketbooks and the energy costs. And so these are still a focal point. the Israel issue actually is helpful in the sense that foreign policy is a strength of mine, and it's a strength in some other candidates. But right now, we're very concerned about protecting our homeland. That was my responsibility after 9/11. I've been to Saudi Arabia, set up a security office there. I know Israel, and I understand the issues and what has to be done. And so this is a very precarious time, but it adds to my strength as a candidate, ready to lead from day one, in addition to my focus on the economic issues.
So maybe citizens and voters are looking a little bit more at the economy and safety of our country than maybe they have before. Now, candidates have dropped out. Governor and frontrunner Donald Trump is still at the top in the polls. So what is your opinion on groups in several states to remove him from the ballot?
Well, that's a 14th Amendment challenge, and it just points out the precarious nature of the Donald Trump candidacy. I supported him in 2016 and 2020, but it's a different day and time now, and he's motivated differently, and he has these court cases, and the question as to whether he will actually be qualified to be on the ballot, that ultimately will be in the United States Supreme Court. But we won't know the outcome of that probably for another 11 months. And so right before actually the November election, the U.S. Supreme Court could rule on that, which puts the Republican voters in a very precarious position. And so it's going to, he's still high in the polls. He's almost untouchable. But the question is, as the voters analyze the future and our leader, will they change their mind? And I think you're seeing that change in Iowa and New Hampshire, and a shift looking for a new leader of our party and our country.
Governor, how do you think the current president, Joe Biden, is handling the war in Israel?
Well, I mean, I think he's supported Israel, which is critically important. I don't like his criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli leader. He's put some constraints on them. But he has done two things well, supporting Israel, and then secondly, trying to avoid a more regional conflict. And that's a responsibility of the United States, of course. The differences are that weaknesses always bring on aggressive action by our enemies and adversaries. Terrorism see weakness. This followed after the $6 billion payment to Iran. He's shown weakness toward Iran, and that causes aggressiveness and unconscionable behavior on part of the terrorists that we have seen. And so now we're trying to put the genie back in the box. We're taking advantage of this opportunity to destroy Hamas, which is ISIS in effect, and avoid a broader regional war. This is delicate time, and we support our president in his action, but weakness never is the right direction for America.
All right, presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson, also the former governor of Arkansas, joining us today in 40/20/90s on the record. Governor, thank you and good luck today.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
The third GOP presidential debate is set for November 8th in Miami, Florida. There are more than 10 Republicans and 3 Democrats running for president so far. We have continued coverage in the politics section of our website, 4029tv.com.